where you just, and it's very hard to look like you're having a fun, sexy time when you're like,
You think you know Dirty Dancing, but what if I told you that beneath the electrifying dance moves and heart-melting romance lies a world of tension, unexpected twists, and behind-the-scenes struggles that nearly derailed the film? From casting shakeups to on-set feuds, the beloved movie could have looked entirely different, maybe even unrecognizable. And the truth behind some of its most iconic moments? Let's just say, once you hear it, you'll never see Dirty Dancing the same way again. At first glance, the film flows effortlessly. Graceful choreography, sizzling chemistry, and unforgettable music. But what the audience sees on screen is far from what actually happened during production. Many of the film's most memorable moments weren't even in the script. Instead of sticking to rigid choreography, Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey were encouraged to rely on instinct, making their performances feel raw and unscripted. The magic audiences fell in love with? Much of it was improvised, built on tension and spontaneity. But behind those seemingly effortless moves, there was a clash. One so intense, it almost shut down the movie entirely. Long before Dirty Dancing, Swayze and Grey had already worked together in Red Dawn, and it wasn't exactly smooth sailing. Their differences resurfaced on set, and their work styles couldn't have been more opposite. Swayze, a classically trained dancer, was a perfectionist who demanded precision, while Grey thrived on spontaneity and emotion. That contrast led to frequent disagreements, frustrating both of them. And it all came to a boiling point during one of the film's most famous scenes, the sensual lover boy moment in Johnny's cabin. The moment where Johnny runs his hand down Baby's arm, sending shivers down her spine. It almost didn't make the final cut. Grey couldn't stop laughing. Take after take, she burst into uncontrollable giggles, pushing Swayze to his breaking point. What audiences see as an intimate, endearing moment was actually filled with real-life frustration. Swayze's exasperation, completely genuine. His attempts to keep the scene together? Absolutely real. The tension between them bled into their performances, ironically making the moment even more authentic. And while that tension made for magic on screen, it didn't make the set any easier to work on. But the struggles didn't stop with the actors. From the beginning, Dirty Dancing was an underdog. The studio had little faith in the project, slapping it with a modest $6 million budget and assuming it would fade into obscurity. The shooting schedule was brutal, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, pushing the cast and crew to their limits. To make matters worse, the original script was much darker, filled with heavy dramatic themes. Executives feared it would alienate audiences, leading to a major rewrite that shifted the film toward romance and lightheartedness. Even after filming wrapped, the battle wasn't over. Test screenings were a disaster. Executives panicked, convinced the film would flop. At one point, they even considered shelving it entirely or releasing it straight to home video. But then, something unexpected happened. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. Audiences connected deeply with the story of love, self-discovery, and breaking free from expectations. What was once dismissed as a small, niche film became a worldwide sensation. Suddenly, a movie that almost never saw the light of day was rewriting cinematic history. And that's just the beginning. But what about the casting? The faces we now associate with Dirty Dancing almost belong to entirely different actors. Imagine a version where Johnny Castle wasn't played by Patrick Swayze. Sounds impossible, right? Well, it nearly happened. The producers originally had someone else in mind, Billy Zane. Yes, the same Billy Zane from Titanic. He had the looks, the attitude, but there was one major problem. He couldn't dance. That alone was enough to send casting directors back to the drawing board. Another surprising contender? Val Kilmer. He, too, was considered, but ultimately passed on the role. A decision that, in hindsight, might have been the best thing to ever happen to the film. And then came Patrick Swayze. With his background in ballet, his effortless charm, and his undeniable screen presence, he was the perfect Johnny Castle. But it wasn't just about his dance skills. His chemistry with Jennifer Grey was undeniable. One screen test was all it took to seal the deal. However, even that wasn't enough to erase the underlying tension between them. Their past work together had already set the stage for friction, and those feelings carried over into filming. Yet somehow, that very tension translated into on-screen magic. Jennifer Grey's casting wasn't smooth sailing either. The studio initially had their eyes on other young actresses. Sarah Jessica Parker and Winona Ryder were both considered for the role of Baby. The biggest hesitation with Grey? With the odds stacked against it, Dirty Dancing could have easily disappeared into obscurity. The behind-the-scenes struggles, the relentless obstacles, and the last-minute changes could have been its downfall. Instead, they became the very things that made it a phenomenon. And what happened next? Well, let's just say the drama wasn't over. Because while the movie became an instant classic, the real story of its impact and what it did to the people involved was just beginning. The tension between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze didn't just simmer behind the scenes, it boiled over, shaping their chemistry in ways no script could have planned. Swayze's relentless pursuit of perfection clashed with Grey's free-spirited approach, leading to on-set friction that somehow made their on-screen romance feel even more electric. Grey had to learn the moves from scratch, but Cynthia Rhodes, who played Penny, was a seasoned pro. Her background in dance, showcased in films like Flashdance and Staying Alive, gave her performances a level of fluidity that elevated every scene she was in. But even Johnny Castle, the effortlessly cool heartthrob, wasn't always envisioned as we now know him. In early drafts, he was a slick-haired Italian-American greaser, more James Dean than Patrick Swayze. That all changed when Swayze was cast. His rugged charm, Texan roots, and ballet training turned Johnny into a soulful, grounded character whose love for dance was more than just rebellion. It was survival, expression, and, ultimately, passion. Behind the scenes, casting decisions continued to shift in surprising ways. Kelly Bishop, best known now as Emily Gilmore from Gilmore Girls, was originally cast as Vivian Pressman, the flirtatious older woman with eyes for Johnny. But when the actress playing Baby's mother dropped out, Bishop stepped into the role seamlessly, while the film's choreographer, Miranda Garrison, took on Vivian instead. Even Wayne Knight, who would later become a household name as Newman on Seinfeld, found his breakthrough role in Dirty Dancing. Playing Stan, the resort's overeager MC, Knight's natural comedic timing added a perfect touch of levity, paving the way for his future career. And Kellerman's itself? The resort wasn't just a set piece, it was inspired by real places. Screenwriter Eleanor Bergstein based it on her own childhood summers in the Catskills, drawing from her own experiences, including her childhood nickname, Baby. Every last-minute switch, every rewriting of history, contributed to the magic that was taking shape on screen. Beyond the casting surprises, the true magic of Dirty Dancing lies in its unforgettable scenes, each moment packed with hidden details that most viewers never noticed. Take the climactic final dance set to I've Had the Time of My Life. That iconic lift, where Baby soars effortlessly into Johnny's arms. Grey had never rehearsed it beforehand. Her nervousness leading up to it, the way she hesitates before the jump, and her elation when she lands it. Completely real. It's like watching someone conquer their fears in real time. And while the moment looked effortless, it was anything but. To ensure Gray got enough height for the leap, a wire was briefly used to assist the initial jump. But the actual lift? All Swayze. That pure exhilaration wasn't acting. It was genuine triumph. But the final scene held more secrets than just the lift. The crowd surrounding the dance floor wasn't made up of just extras. Many were crew members, including choreographer Kenny Ortega, ensuring the room felt alive with energy. And as the music swelled and Johnny and Baby commanded the dance floor, Swayze was silently pushing through excruciating pain. A knee injury that had plagued him for years flared up during filming, but he never let it show. Every step, every spin, every gravity-defying lift. He endured it all, knowing that Johnny Castle had to move like nothing in the world could stop him. His perseverance paid off, but his pain was real. Just like the stunned reactions of the staff watching Johnny's final declaration of love, because they hadn't been told exactly what to expect. Their awestruck faces, completely unscripted. Even the film's most picturesque moments were filled with unseen struggles. The breathtaking lake scene, where Johnny teaches Baby the meaning of trust, might look warm and dreamy, but the reality was anything but. Filmed in the icy waters of North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains, it left both actors shivering, their lips turning blue between takes. That's why, despite the scene's emotional intensity, there are no close-ups. The cold made it impossible to hide their discomfort. And if freezing temperatures weren't enough, the lake's muddy, uneven bottom made every movement a battle. Each time they found their footing, they'd sink into the muck, making the lift sequence even harder. For Swayze, already dealing with knee problems, it's a moment so simple yet so iconic, setting the stage for everything that follows. But what most people don't realize is how many tiny, almost imperceptible details make it work. The way Baby stumbles into the staff quarters, the way Johnny barely acknowledges her at first before she catches his eye, the energy pulsing through the room as the staff let loose in ways they never could in front of guests. It all feels spontaneous, unscripted, real. And that's exactly why Dirty Dancing has endured for generations. It's not just about dance, romance, or rebellion. It's about the unplanned magic that happens when everything goes wrong and somehow turns out more perfect than anyone could have imagined. But the biggest twist of all? Dirty Dancing almost never made it to theaters. The struggles behind the scenes didn't end with filming, and what happened next nearly buried the film before audiences ever got the chance to fall in love with it. From the moment Baby steps into that hidden world of dance and rebellion, there's an undeniable magic in the air. But what if I told you that the authenticity of that moment wasn't just acting? That watermelon she struggles to carry? Completely real, and every bit as heavy as it looks. Jennifer Grey wasn't faking her effort. Those massive melons weighed nearly 20 pounds each, and she had to lug them around for take after take. No wonder Baby looks overwhelmed. It was a real-life struggle captured on film, making her entrance into the underground dance scene even more relatable. And speaking of real-life fear, remember the log balancing scene? Baby, wobbling nervously over a stream, trying to find her footing? That wasn't acting. Jennifer Grey was genuinely terrified. Her laughter, her hesitation, it was all real. The crew insisted she practice on that log for authenticity, and she had no choice but to go through with it. But that moment of vulnerability? It's exactly what made Baby's transformation so powerful. Then there's the scene that sent the temperature soaring. The intimate cabin moment between Johnny and Baby. Passionate, steamy, unforgettable. But here's what you didn't see. That entire scene was filmed in complete silence. No music, no background noise, just raw emotion. The director wanted the actors to be fully in the moment, to let the tension build naturally. The sultry Solomon Burke song you hear, added later in post-production. And it worked. That scene sizzles with intensity because the emotion was real, unfiltered, and completely organic. Jennifer Grey later admitted filming it was nerve-wracking, mirroring Baby's own mix of nervousness and excitement. That blend of authenticity and chemistry is what makes it timeless. But let's talk about the words that became legendary. The quotes that fans still repeat decades later. Some of them totally unscripted. One of the most famous lines in movie history, "Nobody puts Baby in a corner. Almost didn't make it in." Patrick Swayze hated it. He thought it sounded ridiculous, forced. He even begged the director to cut it. But when the cameras rolled, and he delivered it with that perfect mix of defiance and devotion, it became an instant classic. Then there's "Look, spaghetti arms!" Johnny's playful but firm critique of Baby's dancing. Completely improvised by Swayze. His off-the-cuff teasing added a natural charm to their interactions, making it one of the most beloved lines in the film. And who could forget Baby's awkward, "I carried a watermelon?" That wasn't in the script either. Jennifer Grey blurted it out in the moment, instantly cringing at herself, just like Baby would. That accidental line became one of the film's most endearing and relatable moments. Sometimes the best movie magic happens when actors stop acting and just react. And speaking of magic, let's talk about Kellerman's, the picturesque resort that became the backdrop for this unforgettable summer romance. Fans have always wondered, was it real? The answer is both yes and no. Kellerman's was inspired by real-life Catskill resorts, where families would escape for an upscale getaway filled with live entertainment and dance competitions. But the actual filming locations were scattered across multiple states, each chosen to create the perfect nostalgic atmosphere. The heart of it all? Lake Lure, North Carolina. Its breathtaking scenery, rolling hills and shimmering water became the soul of the movie. That dreamy lake scene, where Johnny and Baby practiced their famous lift? As romantic as it looked, filming it was pure misery. The water was freezing. So cold, in fact, that their lips started turning blue, forcing the director to avoid close-up shots. And that wasn't the only challenge. The lake's muddy, slippery bottom made it nearly impossible for them to keep their footing. Every time they tried to balance, they sank into the muck. Swayze, already battling knee problems, what looked like a lively dance studio on screen was, in reality, a modest gymnasium in Asheville, North Carolina. With a little creative set design and the energy of real dancers filling the space, it became the pulsing heart of the movie. This was where Baby evolved, where each misstep turned into a graceful movement, and where the chemistry between her and Johnny ignited in an unforgettable final performance. The authenticity of this setting, though seemingly insignificant, played a crucial role in grounding the film's emotional core. Beyond the dance hall, the stark contrast between the luxurious resort and the modest staff quarters underscored one of the film's most powerful themes: the divide between privilege and the working class. Tucked away from the grandeur, these humble lodgings served as the hidden world where Johnny and Baby's connection deepened, defying societal expectations. Their love story wasn't just about dance, it was about breaking barriers. And then there was the breathtaking waterfall scene, where their passions spilled over into raw, unfiltered intimacy. Surprisingly, this cascading waterfall wasn't real. It was built specifically for the film. But it served a purpose beyond aesthetics. It symbolized freedom, an escape from judgment, a secret world where their love could exist without consequence. This fusion of reality and artistic vision is what made Dirty Dancing feel so real, so personal, so unforgettable. While Kellerman's resort was a fictional retreat, its spirit was very much alive, thanks to the carefully chosen filming locations that transported audiences into a summer dream. The film's legacy, however, wasn't just about its setting. It was about the unexpected, meteoric rise of a movie that no one believed in. When Dirty Dancing first hit theaters in 1987, it wasn't a blockbuster, it was an underdog. With a modest $6 million budget, it struggled to find an audience, earning just $3 million in its opening weekend. For a brief moment, it seemed destined to fade into obscurity. But then, something magical happened. Word of mouth. Audiences couldn't stop talking about it. They returned to theaters, dragged their friends along, and made it a phenomenon. By the time its theatrical run ended, Dirty Dancing had amassed a staggering $214 million worldwide. It wasn't just a movie, it was a movement. But what made it so special? It wasn't just the dance routines or the sultry soundtrack. It was the sheer authenticity of it all. Johnny and Baby's relationship felt raw, electrifying, and real. Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey's on-screen chemistry, despite their reported off-screen tension, was palpable. Every glance, every touch, every hesitant step Baby took toward confidence resonated with audiences. It was a love story wrapped in rebellion, a journey of self-discovery set to unforgettable music. And speaking of music, the film's soundtrack became just as legendary as the movie itself. Songs like I've Had, The Time of My Life didn't just complement the story, they became anthems, cementing Dirty Dancing's place in pop culture history. With such massive success, Hollywood couldn't resist the temptation to replicate the magic. But as history has shown, lightning rarely strikes twice. In 2004, Dirty Dancing Havana Nights attempted to revive the franchise, but it failed to capture the essence that made the original a masterpiece. The absence of Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey left a void too large to fill. Swayze was approached for a cameo but declined, unwilling to be part of something that lacked the soul of the original. Grey, shockingly, wasn't even considered. The sequel, despite its fresh setting and vibrant dance numbers, felt hollow. It lacked the emotional depth, the irresistible charm, the authenticity that made Dirty Dancing a once-in-a-lifetime film. Havana Nights was a reminder that some stories are best left untouched. Every decision behind Dirty Dancing, from its filming locations to its impromptu dialogue, contributed to its magic. The iconic "Nobody puts baby in a corner" line? Patrick Swayze initially hated it. He thought it was cheesy, unnecessary. But when the cameras rolled, something clicked. His delivery transformed it from a simple line into a cinematic legend. And let's not forget Baby's awkward yet endearing "I carried a watermelon." That wasn't scripted. It was a spur-of-the-moment slip-up from Grey, capturing the nervous excitement of a young woman completely smitten. These unscripted moments, these raw, unpolished reactions, are what made the film feel so authentic, so lived in. As we look back at the enduring legacy of Dirty Dancing, it's clear why it remains a beloved classic decades later. It wasn't just about dance, it was about passion, courage, and defying expectations. It was about stepping out of the corner and into the spotlight, about finding your voice even when the world tells you to stay silent. So now, knowing all these behind-the-scenes secrets,